Berardi in that report from Sarah. Andrea is a senior lecturer at the Open University in the United Kingdom. I'm very happy to say he joins us now live. Andrea, welcome to the program. I mean, as you'll know, the United Nations just a few years ago was saying that malaria was killing 1 million people a year. Are you confident that you can actually eradicate the disease completely with this project?
Well, malaria has been very successfully eradicated from countries like Sri Lanka because they have very qualified personnel, urban centers where control can be very easily managed. But malaria is really stuck in rural communities where access is difficult. And so, over $4 billion are spent a year trying to fight malaria. And at this moment, the situation is completely stagnant. So we are spending this money and the situation isn't budging. So we desperately need to identify new cost-effective technologies. With this approach, using drones and satellite technologies, identifying where these mosquitoes are breeding and using a biocontrol that doesn't kill any other wildlife, we think we can really hit the situation on the head and control them once and for all.
Okay, what about that biocontrol? Because obviously the wider environment is important and chemicals have been used in the past to try to kill mosquitoes and spray their breeding grounds. What about the substances that you use and the biocontrol you talk about and its effect on wildlife and other animal and plant life?
Yes, so this is a tried and tested biocontrol. It's a bacterium called Bacillus thuringiensis, the Israelensis variety. And what it does is it specifically affects mosquito larvae. No other wildlife is affected by it. So basically, when a mosquito larvae ingests this bacterium, the toxin is activated in its gut and it liquefies the mosquito. And no other species are affected. And the beauty of this biocontrol is that community members can cultivate it themselves using coconut water or waste cassava water. So it's very easy to manage. Obviously, they have to be careful because sometimes you don't want to cultivate other bacteria. But with a little bit of training and some monitoring, this can be easily managed. They don't have to spend money on expensive artificial pesticides, and also it's not going to affect their health and the health of biodiversity.
Andrea, has anybody done, either in your team or that you know previously in the world of science, a projection about what would happen to the food chain if mosquitoes were to be made extinct through human activity? So let's say you're successful and you eradicate mosquitoes, and obviously it's going to save so many lives. It's going to help also development. As we know, sub-Saharan Africa suffers most compared to any other region in the world from malaria. About 1.3%, they believe, it affects growth across Africa, and that's an annual figure. So the benefit would be huge. But what about the possible downside and what it might do? Because presumably something eats the mosquito, something eats that creature, something eats that creature.
Absolutely. Mosquitoes are fundamental for very sensitive ecosystems, especially wetlands, that have a very high biodiversity and also sustain the livelihoods of millions of people. So we certainly don't want to go down the route of certain control strategies like genetic modification, that some of these technologies can realistically wipe out a whole mosquito species. What we want to do is allow the biocontrol in the hands of local community members so they can decide when and where to apply this bacterium. This bacterium doesn't last for very long in the environment, so it will need repeated applications. If you stop applying, the mosquitoes will come back. So the key is that this needs to be in the hands of community members, and especially women. They're the ones that are most affected by mosquito disease in terms of pregnancy, miscarriages, and their children dying. So in our project, we have 50% of community operators that are women, and they're deciding on where this technology is applied and which wetlands are going to be affected.
Andrea, I can't thank you enough. And obviously, huge good luck with your project. And it would be amazing to get you back on when it's a success. When, not if. Take care, Andrea Berardi.